Hello everybody, so it's Gaz Ware from Full Picture Business and Property Secrets, and today we've got some really good advice coming from Danny Rich. So Danny Rich is a good friend of mine. So Danny has worked, he's got books out about network marketing, if you want to know a bit more about Danny. He also works for the local council, and he goes to the local council, and the local council pay Danny to go and help business startups in his area to help them get a presence online. But his main profession is building websites. Now, what Danny's doing is he's coming here today, offering some free advice. So thanks very much, Danny, for coming along. And this is free advice for building the basics and the foundations if you're going to set up a website or to build a presence online to make sure that your business and you are seen. So thanks, Danny. Thanks for coming along.
I guess no worries, mate. Yeah, what I'm going to start on is the basics of search engine optimization. Now, I started 18 years ago. I've been self-employed for 18 years as a web designer. And back in those days, web design and SEO they worked hand in hand. If you got a web designer, you're expected to be an SEO specialist as well. But over the years, those things have sort of split, and you've now got SEO experts. I've sort of stayed on the web design one. But what I found is that at a basic level, and at a local level, really, with websites, the stuff that I used to do that I learned 15, 18 years ago still seems to work nowadays, particularly on a local level with websites. So as a result, I still do all of these things that I'm going to cover today, maybe 10, a dozen or so things that you can do. And what I've seen over the years is that sometimes people with websites will pay an SEO agency, which can be quite expensive, and although, you know, if it works, it pays for itself. But they'll do that before they do the absolute basics on their website. So I'm going to go through a few things that you can do on your website, which will hopefully help. And then if that doesn't get you the required results that you're after, then by all means go to an SEO agency and they can help you, you know, because they're the real experts on this. But I will say that these things that I've been doing, I've learned over the years, and I do them as a matter of course for all of my websites now. So it may well be, so for example, if there's 10 things I'm going to show you, it may well be that they all have a little cumulative effect on which I'd like to think that they all do. But it may also be that there's only 2 or 3 or 4 of them that really have an effect. And the others I'm just doing. But I've not split test these, but all I know is that when I do these things, it generally has a good effect on your search engine optimization.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's going to be really good because for me, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I've had to learn all this stuff and listening to you every week. So for those that don't know, me and Danny are in a networking meeting that we go to every week, and Danny talks all the good stuff that people need to know. He helps so many people out. And when you don't know what you don't know, sometimes these little tips and building the foundations will go a long way. It's good that Danny's here, and Danny's going to give some amazing tips and guidance. And even though he says, look, it's just foundations and he's not split test them, these things are going to help you go a long way and help you get recognized. So as he mentioned, it does get the presence in the local area which you need or what you want. If somebody's going to be searching what your profession is in that area, you should be coming up to near the top of those searches. Yeah. But appreciate it, Danny. So you've got a bit of a presentation for us, haven't you?
Well, I'm just going to go through a few things, and if it's okay for me to share my screen as well, better than just talking at camera and expecting you to know what I'm talking about. So if I just share my screen, first thing that you need to do is you need to find your keywords or what they are. So if you're a plumber, you know you're in Lincoln, Gaz. If you're a plumber in Lincoln, you want to do pretty well for plumbers Lincoln. Yeah, I think a lot of the time it will be self-explanatory what your keywords are, and your keywords are the things that your customers are likely to type in to find you. So if you're a plumber in Lincoln, and if I live in Lincoln looking for a plumber, I'll put plumbers Lincoln, you know, that type of thing. But we have got keyword planner here. So you can actually, so if I put in here, plumber, Lincoln, into there, and click get results, it will give me some other variations that I can put in as well. And it will tell you the number of monthly searches and things like that on there. So it's worth getting. Without me going too involved into that. The keyword planner tool, if you're not certain what your keywords are, is a really good tool for you to use to find out what your keywords are. So it's worth getting up on that. because it may just throw a few surprises in there.
And the average monthly searches on there, that's how many people have searched for it. So you're better off putting in the ones that are near the top.
Yeah. So the ones with the most searches, but then you may find a little niche one. So the ones that people search for most may well be harder to get to the top 4.
Yeah.
So you may find a little. For example, I had I did a website for a tattooist's supplies company. So he actually sells the needles and the inks and stuff like that. And we used he wanted to sell certain anesthetics that they use for tattoos. So obviously to reduce the pain. And he wanted to do well for selling those things. So I did a bit of Google keyword planner on it, and it came up with this thing that said numbing cream. And it said, so I got back to it. I said, "What's numbing cream?" And he said, "Oh, it's what tattooists all call this anesthetic." I said, "Oh, well, it's getting a lot of searches." So we optimized his website for that, and he sold loads of anesthetic because we found out that that's what tattooists were typing in, numbing cream, rather than anesthetic.
What they're looking for,
yeah. Whereas the big players in the market were calling it what it is, the anesthetic. So at the time we made it, we did okay on that, but sometimes it will throw up a little bit of a surprise as to what people are typing in, or something that you've not thought of. But once you've got them, you then need to have a look at how Google sees your site. So if you type into your website, into Google, site, and then your website, it will then list every page on your website that it has indexed. And it shows, so it usually starts with a homepage, but then you've got something, and I'm going to go more deeply into these later on, but that there is your meta title that I'm just showing there, which shows up in the blue. And then here below is the meta description. And these are quite important. I'm going to go a bit more into these a little bit as we go on, just within a few moments actually. But you need to be thinking about these, because when you type something in to Google, it generally puts up websites. It shows you websites where these words are in these titles and in these descriptions. So it's clearly quite an important place. But I'm going to be showing you how to do that. And there's a bit of but people sometimes think that Google is trying to catch you out, and it's not. And it's only trying to catch you out if it thinks you're trying to catch it out. So if you ever think that you're doing anything where you feel you may have got one over on Google and you're pulling the wool over its eyes, what they call black hat activities, there's a very good chance that someone's look, and I'm not saying that the people who may be watching or listening to this are not super intelligent, and they may well be, but you have to be particularly super intelligent to think of something that Google or someone else has not already thought of in the past, and Google's not jumped on top of. So, for example, a really obvious one is, and this is going back probably 15 plus years, what they call invisible text. So people would dump all the keywords that have a website with a white background, and they dump all the keywords in white text, which obviously rendered it then invisible. You couldn't see it. But Google soon got on top of that. And it's very easy for Google to see because it's all in the code. Because you can see what colour your text is in the code, and you can see what colour your background is. And if they're the same colour, be it white or black or whatever, you're not going to be able to see it. So those websites will get what's called a Google slap. And once Google found out about this, these websites were Google slaps, and they were nowhere to be seen until they put it right. So just try and stay ethical. Don't try to get one step ahead of Google, because, as I said, the chances are that someone else will have already thought of it before you. And even if it did work for a short period of time, chances are that Google's on top of it. Chances are that Google's on top of it, and they've already jumped on it. So they look silent. So what Google really wants, it's not trying to catch you out, as I said, unless you're trying to catch it out. It wants to know what your keywords are. It wants to know from you, and it wants you to indicate to it what you want to be found for. Because at the end of the day, Google, the very essence of it is it's a directory. I know we call it a search engine, but we use it as a directory. So if I'm looking for a plumber in Matlock, and I go into Google and I put plumbers Matlock and I don't get a plumber that's in Matlock, I'm not going to use Google next time. So it's in Google's interests to be effective in putting the best websites or what people are looking for up there in front of them when they search for it. So it wants to know from you what your keywords are. So what we're going to go through is some things that we can do on the page that will leave Google in absolutely no mistake whatsoever what your keywords are. So starting off, I've just talked about meta titles, meta descriptions, things like that. So this is so that's the meta title, and these are that's the description. So on every website, and the majority of websites are done in WordPress now. So I'm just going to go onto like a dummy site that I use. So this is a site here. So if you've got a WordPress website, you'll be familiar with this. So I'm just going to add a new page. Because we're on Zoom, it goes a little bit slower. So I'll just call it new page. Yeah, good start. New page. But down here, I've got a plugin called Yoast, which again is one of the most popular SEO plugins. And if you want to get into Yoast, really, you can get into it really deeply. But it allows you to populate these areas. So this is where I would put. Well, let me just get rid of those. So if I'm a web designer in Matlock and I want to be found, or if I'm a plumber in Lincoln, I will probably start off with plumbers Lincoln, or plumbers in Lincoln. So plumbers Lincoln, emergency 24 hour call out, and then possibly a number there. Oh, no, whatever. And you can see that, you can see how it's going green. Once it gets to red, you've used too many, but it's a good idea to use them all. So that's your SEO title, and that would be then what would show up as the top part there. Yeah.
So the meta title.
Keywords in there. Yeah, get your keywords in there. So they're talking about your homepage here, and what they've always said is the further to the left you have your keywords, the more important Google assumes that keyword is. So I wouldn't have plumbers Lincoln at the very end. I'd put it at the beginning. Whether that's still true or not, but Google doesn't always tell you everything. It's a bit like Colonel Sanders' secret recipe for the Kentucky Fried Chicken. We sort of know what's in it, but they never quite tell us the exact recipe. And in here, they put your meta description. Now, here, you can see in the title, it's very title-like. It's not a sentence. Plumbers Lincoln, emergency 24-hour call-out, phone number. In the meta description, I would be more inclined to put in more of a sentence. So, Gazza's, plumbing, and then we're putting the keywords in as well. Based in Lincoln. My screen is at a different angle at the minute. Based in Lincoln, offer 24-hour call out, bathrooms, whatever. But fill that up. You do get more characters on for the description. As you can see, the things going across the bottom as well to help you. So get your keywords in there, and this needs to be different for every page. Okay. So let's say this is not your home page, because your home page will always be gazzasplumbing.co.uk, but then every page will be gazzasplumbing.co.uk / whatever your service is. So you may have a bathroom fitting service or a tiling service, and you may have a page for each one. And I would say do that. So let's say this is the bathroom fitting one. So this is going to be gazzasplumbing.co.uk / whatever I put in here. This is the slug. Okay. So if I go to let me just show you what I mean by this. So Matlock Web Design. So there's my website. So if you look on here, I've got a page called Small Business Websites or E-commerce Websites. You'll see here at the top that it's matlockwebdesign.co.uk / e-commerce websites Matlock, Derbyshire. I've put my keywords in there. So that's the unique URL for that page. And that's what we're doing in here. We're creating that URL. So if this is your page for your bathroom fitting service. So it will be /bathroom fitters Lincoln. Something like that. So you just put something like that in, and it would put that on the end. So already, and I've talked about letting Google know what your keywords are in no uncertain terms. We've done the SEO title. We've put plumbers Lincoln in there. We've got them in the slug as well. So if this was the bathroom fitters page, that would probably be bathroom fitters Lincoln rather than plumbers. So on your page, you probably have it saying something like that, and in here as well, that would say bathroom fitters as well. So we've got the keywords in the SEO title, got the keywords in the description somewhere as well, and it's also in what we call the slug, which is the bit that goes after your domain, after the /. So, and the thing about this, the sort of irony about this is you don't see this on the website. So if you look at my e-commerce page, none of that stuff I've put in there is there, apart from right up at the top here, which nobody really sees. You just see a snippet of it. So so you don't really see it on the page, but Google most definitely does see it. So for every page, you need to do that, and you need to treat each page like it's a new site almost. And so for example, if you're a photographer, you may do portrait photography, pet photography, weddings, commercial, whatever, or family portraits, whatever, and you may have a page for each one. So I would treat each one of those as its own entity. So each meta title is, the SEO title is about pet photography, which it also says it in the slug, and it also says it in the description. And all of the things we're going to talk about as well going forward, they're going to keep this common theme. So for that page, it's just focused on that service. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good information. So for me, this is looking into the background. I'm an engineer, so I enjoy stuff like this to understand why. So when things aren't working, I need to say, why isn't this working? Let's have a little bit of a look. But this is going to be invaluable for people, because they're going to be able to understand and recognize how they can increase the traffic to their websites.
The number of sites I look at, mate, where they've not done this bit, and I mean, why should they? If they've not their own website up or whatever, but they'll then go, oh well, you might go spend £400 or £500 with an SEO agency a month.
A month? Wow, I didn't realise.
Well, it can be, but if they're going to be bringing £2,000-3,000 worth of work in per month, it's for free. They're not. It's not actually costing you anything. So I'm not knocking SEO agencies, but do this stuff first. And see if it has an effect. So those are your meta titles and your meta descriptions. So we'll then now go to on your actual page. So when you're building a page, what's the best way of doing this? So if you're building a page, we want to carry this through. So you'll have something called H1, H2 headings. So let me just sort of start this with Elementor. So I'm going to start building a page with Elementor. That's it. Give it a sec. Just an update. Right then. So your headings. So I'm going to put a heading in here. So if we're doing the bathroom fitting service, so the main title on the page. Bathroom fitters Lincoln. It's one of those words, Lincoln, isn't it? So this is what you call your header tags: H1, H2, H3 tags. Okay. Now, generally, a H1 tag is what you start with, and they're generally the biggest. So you just think of it as like a Word document. If you're going to do it, you'd probably put a title on there. Then you might have a subheading, and then you'd have your main paragraph of what you're writing about. So I would put. I'm just going to center it because I'm a bit like that. So we've got. So I've started there. Bathroom. So this is our bathroom fitters page. Bathroom fitters Lincoln. Okay. So if this page has got the meta titles and the description and the slug so we're building this theme of what these keywords are. But then I would put a subheading in. So you got it. So if I had another title in here. and make this a slightly smaller one, but I've not put the same keywords in. There's no point in it saying the same thing. So you could put something like beautiful baths, showers, and units, whatever. But mix it up. But you're using keywords that are associated with your keywords. So I did a website quite a few years ago for a wedding venue, and they wanted to be top 4 wedding venues, West Yorkshire, right? And those are like the keywords. But if you naturally talk about what you do, you will naturally use associated words, and Google is sophisticated enough to know, and it will flag it up if not, that if you're talking about a wedding venue and you're talking about what you do, you're going to naturally mention service, bride, groom, guests, reception, guests, what that type of thing. So it's expecting those words, because it's got thousands of other websites that are offering a similar service to what you do. So by using these associated words, it has that effect that it sort of, if you like, reassures Google that you are what you say you are. So I generally put a couple of headers in. I put an H1, which is the bigger one, then an H2, and Google is expecting that order. And all it is, it's just the size of the heading. And then what we would do is we would go to stick some text in there as well, and then you talk about what you would do. And it's welcome to, we had experts in fitting bathrooms in Lincoln, blah, 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 blah. And you talk about yourself. So now we've got meta title, meta description, slug, on-page title, 2 on-page titles, because we've got the H1 and the H2, the smaller one. Not exactly the same, but using related, associated keywords. And then we've got some content. Get your keywords into the content as early as you can. If your keywords are bathroom fitters Lincoln.
Do they need to be as early as possible then to be?
I would always say that always used to be the case, and that's what I was taught.
Okay.
Whether that's still so much the case, because Google does tweak it a little bit, and it also sometimes with regards to the where are we? With regards to the meta description, it will sometimes not use the one that you've put in for the plugin. It will actually pull a paragraph out of the page that's relevant to what the person's typed in. So it is getting better at. So, but I would generally say, as a matter of course, I generally try and get those keywords in as soon as I can, just to tell Google, these are my keywords. These are, this is this is what I'm saying are the most important words. So that's your that's your text for your for your pages. What I'm going to go now is into your images. So I could stick an image in here, and add that image. Now let's have a look how big that image is. So now if you look at this image here, if you can see it is 1707 by 2560 pixels wide. Okay, I don't know if that means, but if that means a lot to everyone that'll be listening, but that would pretty much fill the whole screen. Okay, so and a lot it would be bigger than a screen, and it would look fine. So, but let's say I wanted to make that just 500 pixels wide on the image on the page. Now I could cram that image into a 500 pixel space, no problem, and it would look fine, and nobody would know any different. But Google knows, because in the code it would say that its intrinsic size, which would be the actual size of 1707 by 2560 wide image, is its real size, and you're cramming that in to a 500 wide one. And what that says, it says that's unnecessary, and it's making the website slower because you have to download a larger image, which is a bigger file size, and also you're using people's data. Someone may only have a gig of data for that month, and if you're using a meg of that data, just because you've not optimized your images properly, then Google's not going to look kindly on that. So it's it's likely to slap you again for that. So it will pull you up on that. So the best thing to do is, like I've done here, is to automatically resize it. So as you can see there, I've resized that to 500 by, I made it into a square as well, but I've resized it to more like the size of the image that I need. So it's better to do that. And if you can do it in a, I've done that that's in a PNG there. That's not the best example. But if you can do it in a JPEG, it will bring the file size right down. So, so if you can do that, so if you can have a look at what sizes you would need, it's going to take a bit of trial and error for you to spot, well, should that be 400 or should it be 4,000 or should it be, but try and get them more like the size. And also, people have got different size screens. So a 400 on one person's screen, maybe a 5 on someone else's. So it's not an exact science, but try and do your best to get to the sizes that you already can. And you know, now you might be thinking, well, yeah, it's all right saying do that. How do I do that? Now, if you go to a website here called bulkresizePhotos.com, it allows you just to choose an image and upload it, and it will resize it. And you can, and if you've got loads, if you're having a gallery and you've got 50 images, and it's like, I've got to resize all of these to 500 or 800, and they're all 2,000, it will do it for you really quickly for free. Really, really good website. So
that's really good.
So that will resize it for you. So you don't need any real skills with that as well. So that's and what that is helping is with speed in Google. So you can check your website for speed. And there's also server, you know, sometimes your server might be a little bit slow, which you can't do much about that. But the things like your image sizes and your file sizes, you can. So I'm going to show you another website here called it's just the page speed insights. But also, if you go to a website, you can actually, if you right click on the site and click inspect, and then click on something here called Lighthouse, you can click, it will actually generate a quick report for you for how quick your website is. So I'm doing my own website here, which is always heart in the mouth moment.
Yeah, of course.
So, just 1 second. It does take a minute, but it does quite a thorough job of doing it. Oh, there we go. Right then. So I do, thankfully, but it does quite well. So, but if you've got any issues, it will show you. So even, you know, I'm quite happy with that. Accessibility is only 96. So if I click on that, it will actually show me some of the little things that I may need to have a look at. So there, look, background and foreground colours do not have sufficient contrast ratio. I'm not sure where that is, but that is likely to be some white writing on a grey background or something, and it may say, you know, the contrast needs to be a bit. So I may need to make the text a little bit, or the background a bit darker, or something like that. But it gives you all of those things. But yeah, if you go to that Lighthouse thing, so it's basically, let me just show you it again. Right click, inspect, and then click Lighthouse, and it will do the same for mobile as well. And be warned, on mobile it is a little bit more tight on you, because that's when people are more likely to be using data, whereas on a desktop you're generally on your Wi-Fi. So for your page speed, it's a really good website that to just type your website in and see where you can make some improvements. Also with images, something that I do, and again, it may or may not have a massive effect, but it's something that I've always done, so I just always do it. But I rename them. So when you get if you take some photographs on your phone of some of your products or your services, and then you download it into a folder, they're all going to have a name, something like IMG-346924. Nothing that's of any relevance to your page. So I will generally rename the photographs. So you know, the first one may be Plumbers Lincoln Banner.jpg, separated by a dash. So it will be Plumbers-Lincoln-Banner. And then the first page on my website, the first photograph, it may be Emergency Plumber Lincoln.jpg or something like that. So I will just rename images, but make sure you name them all something different, because what you don't want to do is upload an image and then upload one with the same name, because it may well override the first one.
Yeah.
Although WordPress is pretty good at spotting that, and it'll give it a slightly different name, but name them something different. And also, when you upload an image, there's something called alt text, and it's ALT text, and it stands for alternative text. And what it is, and I'm sure you've all seen it, and Google Chrome doesn't seem to do it as much nowadays, but when you used to put your image over your mouse cursor over an image, a bit of text used to pop up telling you what was in the image. Now that's for people that have got difficulties with the site, and they use something called screen readers. So it tells them what is on the page. So when it tells them what that image is, that they need to be told what the image is, you need something in there, because you're not being compliant really with W3 compliance. So you need to have something in there telling people what that image is, because it may not pop, the image may not come up or whatever. So it needs something in there to tell them what that image is. But it's also a good place to put your keywords. So if you're a wedding photographer, and you've put one of your images on your homepage, one of your favorite images that you took, in the alt text part, you might want to put something like my favorite wedding image of a happy couple, of a bride and groom in Lincoln, or something like that. So you are doing what it is supposed to do. You're describing what the image is, but you're also sneaking keywords in. If sneaking is the word, but you're naturally putting keywords in there, because you are saying what that word is about. And I'll show you where this goes. So if I'm going to add an image, add media, it's just there. So for each image, you need to put some alt text in. I've not done it on these because this is just like a dummy website that I do. But in there, just put a sentence about what it is, and just think about if you can sneak some keywords in there as well. It does help, because now we're looking at meta titles, meta descriptions, on-page titles, your slug. You've got your titles on your page with your text as well, and then you've put an image in that is got a name, which is also Plumbers Lincoln, and you've got alt text on that image that's describing what that is, and you've probably put some decent keywords in there as well. Now we don't want to stuff keywords in, because Google does know when it does know when you're trying to spam it. So for example, in my first paragraph, if I put we are Gazza's Plumbers, and we are Gazza's Plumbers Lincoln, based in Lincoln, doing plumbing in Lincoln for people who need plumbing work in Lincoln. If that was my first paragraph, Google knows that is I'm spamming it and I'm stuffing keywords in there, and it has an algorithm that knows that. So don't try and force them in too much. Try and make it sound as natural as you can. But there's nothing to stop you saying, welcome to Gazza's plumbing based in Lincoln, Lincolnshire. That type of thing. But just do it once. Yeah. Don't be making it sound unnatural.
Don't fight Google, because you'll get Google slapped.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, if you start typing stuff like that, and in the back of your head you're going, I know that I'm just cramming keywords in here, but I think it should be okay. Red flag. Stop it. Just just make it sound natural. But there's nothing to say. There's nothing to stop you from saying where you're from in the first in your first paragraph or so. So that's your on-page stuff. And I would do that for every page. And I always say, if a service that because if you only have one page, and you do see websites that are just really big long websites, one long page, and it will jump up and down, and fair enough, but you only get one meta title and one meta description for that page. The more pages you have, the more chances you get to focus each page on an individual one. So if you're a wedding photographer, you've got one big long page, and you also offer family and pets and portrait photography and product photography and all these things, you're spreading your keywords really thinly. So you've not got as much chance of getting them up there. Whereas if you've got a page for each one of those services, you can do each of these things that I've talked about for each one of those pages. So on the wedding photography page, don't talk about pet photography. And on the pet photography page, don't talk about product photography. Each one of those pages, so you've got your meta titles, descriptions, on-page titles, images, your content. It's all talking about that things. Your alt text on your photographs, all of that stuff. It's all talking about those things. Your slug as well. So I would do all of these things for each page and keep them as a separate service. And I always say, if a service you've got, if you can say a paragraph about it and stick a photograph on, then it's probably worthy of its own page. And you just and Google is getting better at. It seemed that it used to be a bit like a family tree. You know, if you look at your website, your homepage, and everything comes off your website, it did seem to be that your homepage was by far the most important page. But Google seems to be getting better at now picking your pet photography page out and getting that out there for pet photography. It doesn't seem to matter so much that it's not the top level page. So
It's good.
So it's worth doing these things for each one of these pages.
Because ultimately, this is about being seen. This is about marketing. It's about making people go further, making you a presence. Because you can't be a secret and a success. So when people are Googling you, you want to be the top, at least top 2 or 3 for that area. I know it's hard to get there, depending on what you do, because there's going to be hundreds of plumbers, electricians, and stuff, especially in the trade.
And they all want to be top.
And they all want to be top.
It's like a football manager taking over Lincoln City, and the chairman saying, "Right, I want us to win the Premier League." And in the world, so do Man City and Liverpool and Man United, and
Exactly.
and they've got a bigger budget than us. But these are the these are the little things, and I do see a lot of websites that don't. They've not got these things. And I do go in sometimes, and again, as I say, I don't particularly offer an SEO service. But if someone says, "Danny, have a look at this," have a look at my website, and if I can look and spot a lot of these things missing, then I may say, "Look, I'll just charge you per hour, and I'll go in and put these basics in place." And every single time I've done that, I see an improvement in where they stand on, or where they're showing up in the search engine rankings. Within a couple of weeks, generally, sometimes within days, but it can take Google weeks for the full changes that you've made, and that's by design, I think, because if what you did on Google was instant, it would just be carnage.
Yeah,
because it will be constantly people just sat all day going, "Oh, I'm third. Let me make a change, refresh. Oh, now I'm top," and then the people who you've knocked off are doing it. It would just be
yeah.
So it does take quite a while for Google sometimes to spot your changes and update it. But these things do work. Whether it's all of them, and as I said, there may be some people who may look at this and go, putting alt text in, putting keywords in alt text has no effect, or naming your images has no effect, or that may well be true. But I'm saying if you've only got one website, you've only got to do it once. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to be detrimental unless you're spamming and stuffing keywords in there really blatantly. None of the things I'm pretty sure none of the things I've said would be detrimental, even if they don't have any massive positive effect on your Google ranking. And also one thing, and I know you've heard me talk about this in our networking as well, is that your website nowadays, and it's becoming less and less of an issue, but your website has to be mobile friendly, and that means that it shows on Google on a mobile differently. So let me just share my screen again. So for example, if we go to my site again here, if I shrink up, so at the top here you can see we've got the navigation bar at the top, pretty standard. If I make this website smaller, yeah, so the menu that was across the top, obviously the screen is too small for that now, so they've all come under this menu. So this is what is called the hamburger menu, with the 3 lines. So if you look at a website on a mobile and it hasn't got the hamburger menu, there's a good chance that you can say that that's not mobile friendly or responsive, as it's called. Because a website should naturally respond to the size of the screen that you're viewing it on. So as the menu gets too big for the size of the page, it will automatically flick to the hamburger menu. So have a look at your website. If it's an old website, and there's quite a few websites out there that predate smartphones, and it wasn't really that important until smartphones came, and the majority of websites now are viewed on smartphones. So it's imperative that your website is Google friendly, is mobile friendly, and Google does adopt what it calls its mobile first policy. So back in the day, if you did a search for a website on a desktop, where that showed up on Google was how good that website was for a desktop. And then you could search for it on a mobile, and it may show up differently in a different position on the search engine rankings for a mobile, because it was based on how it looked on a mobile. And that's how Google worked. But in recent years, it's adopted something called a mobile first policy. And
Right.
now the only version of your website that it takes any notice of is your mobile version. Doesn't matter how nice your desktop version looks and how well optimized it is, if it's not optimized well for mobile. So it has to be optimized for mobile, because it is the only version of your website that Google is actually judging you on. So it has a mobile. So Google, if you want, go to Google and search mobile first policy that it uses. But that's so it's imperative now that you have a mobile friendly website. I have still got some clients, hold my hands up, that every year when we renew their hosting, I say, look, it's about time we got yourself a mobile friendly website now. And they go, no, it's fine. And they don't, and it kills me. I die a little bit inside every time, but obviously it's going to cost them for me to create them a new website to do that, and I understand that. But they're not showing as highly in Google as they would be if I did them a nice new mobile friendly one. But some of them are still ranking okay because of some of the other stuff I've done. The stuff that I've shown you today. So they still do okay, but they would do a bit better, I think, if they were mobile friendly.
Well, that's why you should always. We were talking about this. I've just recently done something about EPCs. So we've done a mini series about EPCs, and in there we talked about you've got to look at something called capital expenditure, where you look at the refurbs of houses. This should be done for your website. You should position a bit of money in every so many years. Just throw a bit of money at it and say what could I do to improve it? Because otherwise you're going to go, like what you said, further and further down.
Yeah.
So yes, your name's getting out there because you've been operating for years, but when you're talking about marketing, you're going further down. So just
assume that your competition are doing that each year.
Yeah. Plus the new ones are going and getting the up-to-date information and getting it out there, making sure that it's fully compatible and okay with the Google searches, and making sure that it's up there.
So once you've done all this stuff, you then need to let Google know that you exist. So the best way to do that is to use a Google sitemap. Okay, so know that WordPress or even Yoast, the plugin that I showed you, does have a sitemap in it. But you may need your website designer to do this for you. But you basically, in fact, if I Google this now, add sitemap to Google. Yeah. So I'm showing Google. So I've just put add sitemap to Google in there, and it gives some. So what a sitemap is basically something like. Let me just go into here. My sitemap should be at the bottom here. It's just a page that sort of looks like that. It's usually done in XML. This is my ASP one, but it's just a map of all of your pages. So it's basically telling Google what pages that you've got. And it makes it much easier for Google to crawl your website. So you can then go to Google and add your sitemap to Google, and it should much more quickly then rank your site, or at least get it on there on its search engine somewhere. Because I do sometimes see even websites that are quite a few years old. Someone will say, "Can you have a look to see why this website's not working?" And I'll do the thing that I showed you earlier, where I put in. So if I put in site colon and then www whatever, so that's not a real website obviously. And if I do that, and it will say this, it will just say basically it's saying Google doesn't even know your website exists.
Crazy, isn't it? And I bet there's a lot out there that if you just did this simple thing, they were like, where's my website? And yes, they can share the website and people can get on there, but really you want people to, it's a marketing it's a marketing tool. You're not going to get marketing that extend lead to sales, which means there's less money in your pocket.
But the simplest thing is get a Google sitemap on. But you may need your web design to help you with that. But also get yourself on Google My Business. So when you search for something, you know when it shows you in the map. So if you search something there, and you sometimes get the map on you get these here, so it puts you in the maps. But sometimes you get the one that shows up on the right hand side here. That's Google My Business. So if you search, then again, Google My Business, it allows you to get listed on Google, so you can just get started out, and you can put opening times, your address, your phone number, but most importantly, you can put a link in there to your website, and it's showing you behind how it looks on there. But we've all seen these. You can put a map onto where your business premises are, but it needs to authenticate it. But that's fairly simple. It'll either do it, send you a text, or it can send you like a postcard just to verify that address is you. But I always say, if you want to do well on Google, use Google stuff. So get yourself on Google My Business. Really simple. It's free to use, but it also means that there's a good chance you're going to show up in the Google Maps as well, which often shows up before the organic rankings. So get yourself on there as well. And then before once Google knows you exist, then it's got a chance for all of these little things that we've talked about today, for those little things to kick in. But if it doesn't know it exists, it's like being a shop fitter, and you can build a beautiful shop for someone, but it's in the middle of the Sahara Desert and it's getting no footfall. It doesn't really matter how nice it is. So you need some footfall. You need to let Google know that it exists, and get yourself some links back as well. And I know that Google trolls Facebook. If you search for me, if you sort of go Matlock web design, you'll see that that's my Google My Business look.
I need you to share your screen again.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry.
We've only been doing these for like 3 years now, haven't we? Something like that. Yeah. So I've just searched Matlock web design. So I've searched my actual business name. But you'll see obviously my website comes up first, but then second is my Facebook. So Google does troll Facebook. So when you put things on Facebook, leave a link to your website, because there's a chance that Google will find that link and it will follow it back, and it may well count it as a link, and it's coming from your Facebook page. So leave links back where you can. Particularly, get it on directories. Don't pay to leave links, but get it on directories and things like that, particularly relevant ones. So if you are a photographer and you can get yourself in the photography section of a directory, leave a link in there. And there's a lot of directories on there that'll allow you to do that, and leave links back. But it's all, it's called the World Wide Web for a reason. It's about linking, and the more decent links you've got, because what I've talked about today is the on-page stuff mainly, but the leaving links back to your website is the off-page stuff, and that's getting good relevant links from good websites. If you can get them from organisations, if you're a photographer and there's a national photography organisation, I don't know if there's, I'm sure there is something, but if you can get a link from their website back to yours, I'm pretty sure that Google would look at that as being a relevant link, because it would presumably be a website that it holds in quite high regard if it's an organisation, and if it's linking back to your website, that's credibility of your website. Compared to if you get your local butcher to link you back from his website, Google sort of goes, well, where's the relevance in that? It's probably not going to do you any harm, but it's probably not going to be beneficial in any real way. So relevant websites, if you can get a link back, message boards, and if you're on group, if you're on chats on message boards and things like that, where you can leave a link.
No, it's good. All good stuff. It's helping people out. This is going to be really good for people that are starting out, and those that are actually in business. Just get on there and have a quick look. I mean, I'm keen on getting in there right now and making sure mine's optimized.
Well, you talked earlier about I do stuff with the council and with one of the local councils, and we'll do like a Zoom session. And to me, this feels really dry because I'm always saying to people, your keyword, you name your photograph, plumbers, Lincoln.jpg, and then you name your page this, and then you put, and it seems monotonous, but it's one of those things that people can take away and go back and go, right, I can put that into action, and I can have a look, actually see where I'm ranking now, and then give it a few weeks and see where I'm ranking afterwards. And I get a lot of good feedback from the council, from some people that's attended, saying that I put this into play. I was showing nowhere, and now I'm on the first page, or am I on the second page, or I'm near the top of the first page, or whatever. But just doing these little things, and as I said earlier, for local, it seems to work. If you sell Adidas trainers and you want to be the top in the UK for selling Adidas trainers, well, the stuff we've gone into today is probably not going to be enough. This is when you're going to need, because you're up against some big players. You're up against the big sports shops, and I'll not name drop those, but we all know who they are, and Adidas themselves, so the chances of you being able to get above them just doing these little things you've shown today are very, very slim. But if you provide a local service, try doing these things, particularly the meta title stuff and the meta descriptions and the descriptions on your page and your titles on your page. Get those. Just see what happens, and to see if it has some help. But all I can say that over the years is it seems to have helped with the websites that I've done this for, and I do well myself for searches, and I'm in one of the most competitive fields, as you can imagine, against other web designers. But I seem to do okay locally for it,
and that speaks volumes, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, well, if you search web designers UK, I'm not going to get up there for that. No. But if you do them in my local area, then I'm up there, and I'm topping for most searches. So and I've not missed anything out. There's not any little Jedi tricks that I've left, kept to myself. I've just done this. But and time is a thing as well. The older your website is, that's another one of the. I think I read something the other week that Google has something like 200 variables that it judges your website on. For where you are going to then.
That's a lot, isn't it? Really, but yeah,
loads and loads and loads of them, and I've just touched on a few of them, and hopefully all of those things are in there somewhere. But so it's not that straightforward. But these are the real basic things that I found have helped over the years, and have always helped. Going back, it seems that Google's not really changed the goalpost that much. It's just the basic stuff. Get your titles on there, get your meta titles on there. Make sure your content is talking about what it is that you do, and make sure it's relevant. And don't try to pull the wool over Google's eyes.
Well, we'll have a fight with Google, and we'll lose.
Because chances are, unless you've thought of something totally unique, chances are Google's had someone try that on them before. And it's already been flagged as a black hat activity, if you like. So
that's really good.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to help loads out. It's going to help.
Yeah, but then push on social media, because it's not just Google now. It's the amount of work I get because I'm tagged in. I know you've tagged me in things before, and other members of us and clients of mine tag me in, and people they're as likely now. So as going on Google, putting in web designers near me, they're just as likely now to go onto Facebook and just say, anybody know a good web designer or plumber or whatever. So it's a new way of doing it, because it's that credibility of their friends. And if their friends say that this plumber's a good plumber, he did a really good job for me, and he's really he's not that expensive, and he tidies up after himself, and that credibility, you can't beat that credibility. So get yourself out there on, and if you can tag your clients in as well, into Facebook, because if they're tagged in, there's a good chance their friends are going to see it as well. And I generally do that. I'll once I've finished a website, I'll talk about the client. I'll just say, been great working with Gaz on plumbing website. Gaz is not a plumber, by the way.
I was about to say that at the end.
Yeah, don't be ringing Gaz.
Do some plumbing work. My dad was a plumber, but I'm not a plumber.
Yeah, great working with Gaz on his new website, and then I'll talk about you. And so if you're looking for someone and blah, 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 all this stuff, and I'll just leave a link, but I'll talk about you. But then some of your friends will see it, and it might be a year down the line where one of them says, Gaz, you had a website, didn't you? Was he all right? Was he? And they'll come back. So tag your clients in if they'll let you do it. Friend them, tag them in, and there's a good chance that their friends will remember that they had a new boiler or whatever it was. They had a good wedding photographer or whatever it is. They'll remember that, and it comes back to you. So yeah, basic stuff before you start chucking money at it. Google Ads, SEO companies. But if this stuff after a couple of months isn't doing exactly what you want it to do, then grab an SEO company, and there are some good ones out there. Yeah, that'll help you. So,
which is good, which is excellent, really. But thank you, mate. I really appreciate
pleasure,
it. Mate. And because you've given your time for free, what I want to do is the best thing I can do is just give people a chance to contact you should they need any help with their websites. So if you want to just put out how they contact you, and please, everybody, feel free. I really trust Danny. I trust Danny because I've sat with him every week and he talks about this stuff and he's giving out free advice where we go. Obviously, it's still bringing him in business because there's certain things that you can't do without going to Web Designer. So please feel free to contact Danny. Danny, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, if you just I mean, I don't know if you people who've been to Matlock might recognise the castle behind me, but if you just Google Matlock Web Design, I'll come up. My contact details will be there on Google. There's going to be a picture of this face on there as well. You're not going to make sure the kids are not stood behind you when you search it. But yeah, just search me on that. And if you just want 10 minutes on the phone, any advice, something, just give me a shout. I'll give anybody 10 minutes, no problem.
Awesome, amazing. And thanks very much for your time. This is going to be really good for everybody to understand, and it's going to help out lots of people that are starting out in business. And that's the aim of everything that we're doing. Well, it's not just starting out, it's those that are established, that are falling down the rankings. So I really appreciate it. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers, guys.